Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Gibst uns ein Zeichen?
Let's speak in English for a second
bereit,
so
ja,
that
ich
you
hab
get
schon.
into the
Okay,
English.
hello. Ja, herzlich willkommen. Welcome to the Fashion Revolution Online Festival. This is our first live stream we're doing, official. We are welcoming our first guest. It's Mariana Munoz.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. Mariana is a stylist. She's calling herself a conscious stylist. She has been living for a long time in London, and she's been studying sustainable fashion, right?
Fashion styling.
Yeah, fashion styling. And yeah, she will tell us something about her vision. Can you do that, please?
Yes. So what I've done so far is I've studied the regular way of fashion, and I've been to multiple. I've had a lot of experiences with regular clients and the whole fashion industry. Worked many years at London Fashion Week, and I think that at first it all was really exhilarating and inspiring, but then I was caught up with my ethical values, or with feeling that there was this insatiable thirst for more each time. So each season that I did, I just couldn't think how we could sustain, how this could be sustained. So I think this is where I come, and I want to put my little grain to make people take action in whatever they can, whatever it is that is their field. And as consumers, we are all consumers. So I think that each of us is responsible to make a change happen. So that is it. And I've got some information prepared for you. And we can swap to the first slide of the presentation.
If there's a small break.
Yeah.
You're really welcome to ask questions in the YouTube chat. I will get a sign from the technicians, and then I can read your questions, or in between, or or later. So you're really welcome to ask questions.
Wonderful. So we can go to the first slide, please. And this is my topic. This is how I try to break it down. So it is break your pattern, understanding each phase of the life cycle of a garment in order to take action to whatever corresponds to you.
Okay. Next, please. And this is about myself. You can go to my website, find out my work if you're interested. As I said, I worked at different places, and what I've always been very focused on with my own work, with my editorials, is the story and the person at its core. And that's what it has always been in my interest, and also to support and to feature small designers and creative minds rather than the big ones. I don't think that they need the featuring anymore. So that's about myself. If you want to know more, of course, there's loads of infos that I could give you. But I have actually, my sources for this research have been Ursula Di Castro. This has been my go-to for the last month. Loved Clothes Last. It's a beautiful read, and an essay that I found from Alice Payne to show up the life cycle of a garment. And I interviewed or had a little talk with Aline, who will have an amazing presentation tomorrow, and one of the owners from Question. So those are my sources, and let's get started. The content, I have structured it this way. explaining the life cycle of a garment. So it is a fiber choice, the textile production, design, manufacture, distribution, marketing, retail, use phase, end of life. And I will show you an example of a Nike backpack compared to a question backpack to show you a very radical difference in the way of producing and consuming. A call to action to professionals in the fashion industry and to all consumers. And of course, since that is, can we just go back one back, sorry? Since this is my absolute topic, I want to go really in depth with the consumer, which is the use phase, where I will highlight what we can do better. Then I will share with you my very precious research on first-hand and second-hand sources for Switzerland. Okay, this is it. This is the garment life cycle. It's an illustration that I have adapted to fit what I want to say. And so, first, the choice of the fiber. This is a very key moment to. It's a very key moment to decide whether it's how it's gonna end up, if it's gonna end up in landfill, or if it's gonna end up in landfill, or if it's gonna have a good impact in the world in the long term. And the textile production, I didn't know that much of it is, even if it's natural fibers, the processing into textile goes through chemical reactions or chemical toxic procedures that actually you end up losing the natural components to it. And the design is really responsible to, or it actually takes a lot of questions and compromises at this point to make a change. So what I want to say here, explaining the whole circle, is that I have been inspiring people into conscious consumption, but I realize it's not enough. I realize there is the point where I'm talking to people is already too late. Already the whole production has happened, and we need to make radical change at the beginning. So it all starts with the fiber, with the choice of the fiber. And we also need to educate ourselves on how we can do it better. There is, if you think of cotton, for example, it might be a very good, breathable, biodegradable source of fiber, but it has been enslaving people for years and to today. And the use of water is just been devastating. If you want to look into it, I recommend you to look a documentary about the real cost of cotton. It's devastating, really, what's happening. So it is our responsibility, well, of the designers, but also us as consumers to decide whether or not we want to support that fabric. And the polyesters, we all know they do not biodegrade, or they take forever to disintegrate, so they mostly outlive us, our time here. And there are sustainable alternatives, which is already better, but there are also innovations. And this is what Aline is going to talk into depth about tomorrow, and also something that I'm going to tell you about questions, new revolutionary fabric. Well, let's leave it there and move straight to the example. So this is a very clear example. I don't want to shame any brands here, but I want to show on a large scale designer what is actually happening from the fiber to its end. And what is going on here is that, okay, so let's say I feel very attracted to that green backpack, the Nike one. And what is already been the process or the baking phase of the backpack is they're using PVC, which has been dyed and curated, and its curated process has a finish that releases harmful chemicals. Then it goes to the design period, the design department, where it's actually made not to last, because if it doesn't last, we will have to buy a new one. So it is designed not to last. So that is a very key component to consumerism. Then the manufacturing can exploit. It's very exploitative labor. I'm just telling the bad example, one of the worst examples that could be. And since it is so cheap, and we are actually taking from the workers, it's when you have too much of something, then you're not careful about how you produce it. There's a huge overproduction and loads of waste from the manufacture phase. Then the distribution, there's a huge carbon footprint here, of course, going from the raw materials home to get it production, to the textile production, then to the design office, getting manufactured and distributed to all retailers. That takes a lot of flights and a lot of shippings and transports and everything. And then in between, if we go back to the slide, yes, thank you. I have placed the marketing in a little cute heart in between the distribution and the use phase, because that is where it's sitting. It's somewhere between the distribution and before the finished product arrives to the stores, and we are then ready to buy it. So we have been made ready to buy the product that is being manufactured through the marketing, because it's been telling us, and the marketing is a lot of things. It is Fashion Week, it is the bloggers, it is our stylists, it is everything that is giving us messages of you need that green backpack. So I see a huge responsibility there to stay alert for the consumers, but also for us marketing people, marketing or fashion professionals, to influence people to buy the good things, not the bad ones. So at the end of, so we're still at the Nike backpack. So I go to the shops and I'm super excited about getting it. And why do I get it? Is because I got influenced. And secondly, because it's super cheap. So how much was it? It is 31 francs now. It was 44 and it is on sale. So why should I not get it? I might even get one for my friend. After a while though, it will, in my use phase, and that is where it is actually a part of the phase of the life cycle of a garment. So it is with me now. So it's in my possession and it won't really last. I would say that after a year, I'm not into it anymore. The PVC might be cracking. I don't like the color anymore, because my why of buying it is because it was trendy and because it got implied on me. So I will just as quickly dispose it, and also because the design is poor, is made not to last. And so factor design and the trend factor makes an item disposable. So it will end up in the grave. And I might give it to a charity, which, by the way, sending things to charity nowadays isn't longer an action of goodwill, because we are literally dumping our responsibilities. They can't use or sell or make use of all the things that we are giving away constantly. It is enormous what we are sending to charity shops and then end up going to landfill, because PVC will not decompose. So, and even if a thing would decompose, sometimes it's been going through so much chemical treatment that you actually can't, that it will leave toxins in the earth. But this is not my point of expertise. Where I really want to get is to how to do it better as well. And the mission And the vision of Nike is, of course, to make money in the first place. So have they achieved their goal? For sure, because the whole production has been done really cheaply. They can sell it at a very cheap price, but they sell 1 million pieces of it. So I would say they have their goal, they have achieved their goal. And now we're coming to a better example, a much better example, something that I knew about question bags, but I didn't know the, one slide back, please. Thank you. I didn't know the engagement of each single part of their production supply line to actually make a better product and to make it last. So they spend years of research, testing, and development. They have developed this banana tech fiber. They're taking responsibility at the fiber level. So the fewest of the designers actually bring out or develop a fabric or a fiber, which then gets produced. They work very closely with their textile producers, with the manufacturers, so much that it actually gets embedded in their design techniques or in their design processes, because since the fabric, it is very expensive to produce in comparison to what would be a cotton or a polyester. They have to save, they have to be very conscious about their patterns and how much waste they're creating. They don't want to waste it because it's actually precious material. So then what they do is have a very smart pattern cutting with a zero waste philosophy, which is already sustainable on its own to do that. And it is designed to last. It is actually even designed to be altered. So the zippers can be undone and put back on. So it is a great example of a design that is thoughtful to the consumer to keep and to have it for a long time. So we go to the distribution. They're shorting. They're making sure that their storages are close to the manufacturers so they can save on trips and travels and all of that. We still have a long way to go, but of course the most sustainable thing to do is I'm the designer and I bring it straight to your door. But that's at a small scale. It is possible to do that. Then the retail here serves as a place. It's an inspirational place where like-minded people come together and get to exchange values and can feel the product for the first time. So if I have a salesperson at a question that will give me this storyline, I'm of course sold in a complete different way, in a complete different than if I just order my Nike backpack on Zalando. There is no exchange of energy whatsoever. Also, actually, this is something off the records, but your money is an energy, has an energy. So how we put it out there in what we spend our money is quite crucial to also our well-being and how we feel, what is the exchange that we're having with our money. So just something to keep in mind when you spend it well or not, because actually coming to the use phase, coming to the consumer, buying this question bag, you actually become an investor. You become an investor of all of this process. You become an investor of the time that the researchers and that all these innovators have put into research, into finding a new fabric, into the designer's work, but also into the textile production, into all the people that are working behind the scenes in China, Indonesia, Philippines. They're actually paid worthy salaries that you then get to pay in retail. That is the true cost. This is why I say their vision is question the norm, which I think they really are. And this is what they're saying. This is their primary question. Does it justify to have a cheap price or a low price so that it's accessible to the customers, but it's actually taking away from all of the other parts? Or shall we divide the costs and give everyone a dignified salary? Yeah, let's leave it there. I think there's a lot to say, of course, but I have to keep it short. They work on a circular process as well, where it is 100% biodegradable, and the fabric and the zippers and the buckles can be recycled. So that is a cradle to cradle model where it goes all around, and it is, I think this is what a lot of brands are focusing on doing, which is a great way of doing it. But our responsibility here as a consumer is to keep it as long as we can in our possession, and if we don't want it anymore, but it comes from a good source, we can actually give it. You would take my question back, wouldn't you? So if I didn't like the color anymore, if I didn't want it, I would very happily give it to someone, and that person would happily take it, so it will get a new life. So this is what we have to keep on doing to prolong the life of a garment. Okay, next slide, please. And this is where I call to action the professionals in the fashion industry. And this is something that I'm very passionate about, and very almost alarmed by how little, well, I wouldn't put it how little we're doing, but where is it? But we need to create we need to create change now. It is it is an emergency. It is no longer a niche topic that we need to think sustainably. It is an emergency. It is a call to action to all of us, and we need to really transmit better messages to help. When we transmit, I feel responsible as a stylist to deliver a positive image for young girls who would be reading a magazine, for example. If I keep on going with the go-to top models, I mean, they're great too, and there's nothing against that, but also the diversity, not diversity as a keyword, diversity, but actually there is a diversity of us. We're all beautiful one way or the other. Our bodies vary from one extreme to the other, and they're all beautiful, and this is what we have to embrace. And I think that media, magazines, all of that is very responsible for a bad image, for a bad perception, and also the feeling of I'm not good enough, but also I need to have that backpack because I will be cool, because my blogger and my favorite influencer is wearing it, so I just immediately go to buying it to make myself feel better. And so to journalists, editors, and media, I would say let's talk truth. Let's say the truth. Let's speak about the truth. And Fashion Revolution and Extinction Rebellion is doing a great job doing that. I think that it's so we need to really listen to those sources, because there's so much work put voluntarily on these platforms to make change happen, and we just have to listen and support. And actually it's because that's the media that we should be aware of. And so that's one thing. Fashion institutions such as Fashion Week or even the government could help to support talent so much more. I think there's British Fashion Council, and launching London Fashion Week is very good at it. They have a lot of programs funding young talent. They do have a lot of development. They feature a lot of upcycling designers, a lot of practices that, and I've had a lot of friends doing their thing in their four walls, and they're actually being made big from fashion, from BFC, and I think that's something that we need to do if to also make it happen in Switzerland. I think that could be done. Influencers, bloggers, celebrities. I don't think I need to say more than influence the mainstream on doing good. That would just be enough because you already have the influence. So let's do it. Magazines and advertising, what I said is the inclusivity and the diversity of the models, featuring small designers or interesting designers with a fair produce. Stylist, I'm a stylist and I know how much responsibility we have on this because we are the managers of the clothing of whatever it is. Is it a TV spot? Is it moderating something, dressing the people for it, magazine, advertising? We dress the people. So how we source those clothes is very crucial. And also promoting unknown designers is much more interesting, and it's really you give a designer a platform, and that's the beauty. That's what I love doing, because I give a small designer that has their clothes and they're so passionate about their clothes, and I put them on a beautiful girl and in a scenery, and I make this whole thing become a thing, and they, people get to see it. People love consuming beautiful images, and that's what we're here for. And if we just keep on showing the same brands all over and over again, it's great too. It's everyone's free to do whatever they want. But if we kind of place, even in advertisings, I really try to place small designers and put them in the mainstream, and or go to small shops and rent instead of buying. So those are things that we can do. And buyers as well. I think featuring and buying emerging talent is actually, you become a pioneer of talent. You're supporting talent. And yes, let's leave it there. Oh, and just a tip that I have for buyers, retailers, that is also from Alice Payne's essay, is that in-store alteration services would be a really good go-to. Modisa is actually, they just introduced an upcycling office, an upcycling, I haven't seen it myself, but that's a great way to go as well, and to educate your customers. This is a good source, a really good piece of clothing that I'm selling you. Take care of it, fix it. So these are all, and also a no sales policy. There are some shops that are already doing it, but the moment we put the things on sale, we're actually devaluating its cost, its value. So we're actually telling people that the real cost wasn't real. The initial cost wasn't real. If we were able to put it down to 50%, it means that all has been just margin. And so I don't think question bags go sell their things ever at 50%, because that would mean a huge loss for all the components of the cycle. So that's another thing. And moving away from seasons, to have one season that moves into the other, but I think designers there also have to change a bit their policy on seasons, to actually stick with one line and change colors, patterns slowly. But it doesn't have to be each season attached to the fashion schedule all the time, because then retailers do the same. Retailers are just following what the designers are dictating them, and the fashion houses such as Fashion Week, of course. So it's all like one schedule that we should break. Next slide. How are we doing time-wise? Okay. Are there any questions so far? No. Okay, great. So let's move to the consumers, and this very extravagant picture. I love it here in Mugler, but it is because we are the kings. The consumer is always king. And by knowing this, we have to not just taking responsibility, but taking the advantage that we actually have the power to change it. So if we stop consuming, they want I mean, we all witnessed it at when all the stores closed in the lockdown. No one was consuming, at least not in the stores. And what happened, of course, let's not get there, but we can make change happen if we stop, or if we do it consciously, because we then demand change. We then demand change to the stores, to the designers. The customer is the king again. So think about its end of cycle. I think that's a very simple way to decide whether you want to buy something or not. So knowing about the materials that you're purchasing and how they will end is very helpful to the whole cycle. So if I'm actually going to add at the end some research that I did about each material. I can't go too much into it, but that is one of our responsibilities. Know where cotton is coming from, what is going to happen to polyester, what are the alternatives, and also, can I invest in a better way of in an innovative fabric of natural resources. I think you're quite an expert in that as well, experimenting with biological. Yeah.
I'm not an expert.
But okay, you're interested.
We're starting to experiment more and get into the process of making and trying and finding new things. So
Yeah.
there's more to come. But I wouldn't call myself at all an expert.
Okay. An interested, a very interested person. Yes. And Aline's talk is going to be exactly about that. And she's really experimenting with biological resources to create fabric that is already coming from our nature, and it doesn't need any chemical processing to make this happen. So yeah, I think that's our go-to. That's where the future lays, and this is why people are getting more and more interested in that. But yeah, so that's one thing. What happens to the garment that I'm buying after its life with me? So if I don't like my piece of my trousers anymore, what do you think my friend is going to like them, or my sister? Or is it going to be useless to her? And you can see, all of us can see when we go to secondhand stores that have things from mass retailers, they're not as popular as other pieces that actually come from a great source, or they have a large history of existing. It becomes trash immediately. So think of, when you buy something, think of its afterlife. And if it's not going to serve anyone after you, or if you think you're going to get tired of it pretty soon, then rather not take it, because otherwise you're just going to dump it somewhere, and as I said, it will outlive you, which is such a weird thought. All the clothes that aren't used at charity level in charity shops, they're shipped to Eastern Europe, Haiti, Africa. And in Africa, this is so crazy, they call it dead men's clothes because, but we haven't died yet, but we're such a disposal. We have this culture of throwing away, and we throw away everything, but the thing is existing somewhere, not in our house anymore, not in our possession, but it is somewhere, and it's just stuck there for a lot of years. Another thing that I really like telling people is to develop your own trend algorithm, because the algorithms of fashion are implying things onto us. They're telling us what to wear, what to want next, what is cool this season, why you should get it, all of this. If you go within yourself and you actually start listening what you like, because of your interest, your values, or something that you're constantly attracted to something. I have this thing right now with opal stones, and they just reflect. There's it's such a nice effect that they have on me, and I just got crazy about them, and I love this iridescent patterns, and I mean, maybe it's a trend that I consciously have picked up, but I don't think so. Actually, it's something that just it's been catching my attention for years. And so now I know, okay, these things that I have, they're going to last um, in my possession because they're so precious to me, because it's something that I really, um, I've been attracted to them by themselves, and not someone told me I need to like that. And that's the whole difference. So if you tune in with yourself, and I think we need to tune in with ourselves anyways, in all aspects. But if you tune in with yourself on this aspect, you can make sure that whatever you buy is also going to have an actual meaning, and that it's going to be with you for a longer time frame. And one of my other tips is to create your wish list. I've talked about this last year. And that's where you physically you make a little list, and you place the things that you need. So one things are the essentials, so practical needs, basics, seasonals, and then you place them on your list. Okay, I need white t-shirts, I need a warm jacket. Okay, great, it's on my wish list, it's all settled down, I'm going to organize it. And this comes from a need. I actually need something. We don't really need anything in this society, of course, but it comes from a place of need. So I think the go-to here is to align to your ethical values and to source your basics and your seasonals wherever you consider it is a good investment to make. So think back of the points that I gave you before, and at a retail level to become the investor of your own basic needs that you have. So if you source them well, yeah, that's great. and then you can go and buy them. But then the other thing is, when you have a wish, a desire, something that's been in your head for a long time, like I really want a pair of cowboy boots. I'm so in love with cowboy boots, and that's been for a year or over a year. Then also they will remain longer with you. So you can have some of those wishes that are more on an emotional level rather than a need. And as such as also a wish, I really, really, really crave a beautiful ring or a backpack. Well, backpack is a bit practical as well, but something that you really wish for. And there I suggest not to just buy it, but actually wait until it finds you, until you find that perfect piece. And this is why it's nice to have everything on a list, because it's there somewhere documented. And it's so beautiful to see how things just come your way when you, and also that you walk through a store and then you just see that piece that you were wishing for, and it will actually just find you eventually. And then when you get it, you're so excited about it, you will never give it away. That's my way of thinking, at least. And then make it last. And I think we've talked in brief about this already. Normalize mending. This is something that Ursula Castro is putting. She says that it's a revolutionary act to keep and to mend, because our throwaway way of thinking and way of acting in the last years. So if we keep and we mend them, then everything we have in our garderobe is loved and has a space. And it's funny, because I'm a stylist. I have loads of clothes, and I have a lot of archive pieces that I have an archive where I have a lot of things for styling that I use, and both, either my archive but also my personal wardrobe has got its play. I know exactly what I have, what I'm missing. The other day I thought, I'm missing that pink top that I gave to someone. I never got it back, but I remember each piece. They are like my friends. and I think that's really nice to have that. And my friends get really surprised by how little clothes I have. They think that I have a million things, but I actually just have very specific things that have their place. And washing less is a great thing to do as well. I think we wash very unconsciously. We just put everything in the laundry, cotton with polyester, nylon with blacks and whites and everything. We don't have to wash all the time, and we need, of course, trousers. We know that. We don't wash them every time we wear them. Cotton, put everything together, all cottons together, linen, all natural fibers that have zero mixtures in the fabric, because it's such a shame that many very valuable fabrics are mixed with acrylic or polyester to make them cheaper, and then the whole laundry is actually polluted, because washing polyester sheds 700,000 microfibers every single time, which is insane. It's actually insane, and we do that with every single wash, and we feel so good about it, and it's so bad for us and our environment, and it will just never end. And yes, I think I said this about rethink donating. Before you go to charity and send it, think about keeping it or not buying it at all, and pass it on accordingly. There's TextAid has a textile recycling bank. There's a few shops that have it in store. Well, that would actually be a good future, to have TextAids in stores, but they are placed in different places of the city to bring back your textiles, at least when you don't need it anymore and it really isn't of any use, to recycle it. And also, Offcut is not really for clothes, but it does have a textile department. Offcut is a great company. I think it's a startup doing it in Zurich, where you can bring your things that you don't need anymore, your materials. So yes, I think that is. Oh, how are we doing? Yes. Oh yeah, can we go to the next slide? These are my tips and conscious sourcing in Switzerland. I have some different, the swap, there's not a lot of swapping. The walk-in closet, I saw they have an event. I put different names, even though they're not in Zurich, just for you to get inspired on how other places do it, because swapping is such a fun thing to do. It might not serve you anymore, but it does serve me, and it just goes around without spending money. It's a great way of yeah, getting things around. Renting, of course, should be done more. I'm actually trying to move my vintage online store into rental, so that people can actually just go and buy, actually not buy, but rent for a few quid and dress up for a party, and that's it, and then you bring it back. But I think it's still, we need to train, we need to change a bit of our way of, because we want to own. We feel like we want to own it. There's been so many people saying, I want that dress so badly. And I think, yeah, it's going to be for all of us. It's not just for you. And I think this is the rental way of thinking that we have to change. Upcycling, as I said, the Modisa upcycle station is great. No sweatshop, that's also yours. How does it work actually in terms of public just coming in?
It is actually it was a project that was like a test phase, and we would love to put it in a real place for a long time, but now it's not existent at the moment. But it would work like that. We have a source of clothing, like secondhand clothing, which is there in tons, and we would have them there to use, and we have machines, and everyone can come in and use the place, and then be a member or pay a little amount for using the infrastructure, and then just get creative or repair your things and start to collaborate and do things together and get into the material and get new ideas on how to make clothes and how to dress yourself. It's also something that then develops when people come together and get creative and get into the making. This is the thing, actually, like having a lively place where people come and sew together old materials.
Yeah, and this is amazing, because that's both things. It's creativity, it's innovative, because you're changing an existing garment.
And give it to someone that does it, even for yourself, or just donating that fabric. I think it's a better way of doing it than just dumping it, because it's actually serving. If you have a beautiful velvet dress but it doesn't look nice anymore, I bring it to Corina and she will create a complete different thing. And I mean, how beautiful! That's art on itself. And this is the thing. There's so much already happening, but we need to make that our go-to. We need to make that our first choice, and not the niche. It's actually it has to become our first choice to go to these places. We've been in the below the surface for too long. I think these are like the things that we need to take action on, and at least supporting or giving it to someone that is doing that, rather than it's just so comfortable to go to a big store. But if you think of all the consequences that it has, it's huge. I don't think we can justify it, because we're talking about fashion, and it's one of the most polluting industries in the world in all ways. Horrible labors, and we're talking about clothes. It's not something that we need. We're not changing lives. We're not doing something, there's no justification whatsoever for how the way we are consuming right now. And yes, and this is why I say I think supporting people that are, and this comes with my first-hand sourcing. If we go one slide down, the example that I gave you before with the Nike in question, those are big scale designers, those are brands. But if you think of small scale designers, supporting a small scale designer makes a huge impact on all aspects, because also there isn't a greener alternative really, because the distribution cost is going to be, if I order something from your store, you're going to bring it to my home directly, or I can pick it up at yours, or maybe the post, but you're not shipping from Asia to Taiwan to everywhere. So that's one thing. We're skipping the retail margins, and also another point about that, because I find that's something that, and also I'm supporting. I'm being the investor. I really like feeling like I'm an investor. So I'm investing in your time, in your creativity, and in your innovation,
and also in supplying the lifestyle, like the way the small designers are able to do this. Exactly, because what you really need
people to buy the designs, to be able to make them.
Yeah.
Because
and
professionals.
Exactly, and being small scale designers is so beautiful as a as a concept, but it's so tough, because it still remains a very small fraction. And I might love a designer that does super crazy things, and we all love seeing it in a magazine, but we don't buy it because we think, oh, it's so expensive. But of course it's expensive, because that's the real cost of things. It's not, no one on the way has been treated badly, or you haven't deforested. All of that. I can't really put it that right now, one of each, but yes, I think, and this is why I have these sources of places to go to. Mode Suisse is the fashion week of Switzerland, and I don't think they're all they don't have all sustainable practice, but just by the way of being small scale is already much better than going to the stores.
But we are also collaborating, and Mode Suisse is very much encouraging the designers to go the sustainable way.
Yes.
This is not a must, but it's of course always considered, and it's an important thing also for Mode Suisse.
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing that they, and this is the thing, that's a platform that is given to designers to even, because otherwise as a designer you don't have, without a platform you also don't exist. And that's the whole.
You exist, but nobody knows you exist.
Exactly. I mean, for the mainstream, for the media, it's like how do you get people to find you? And there we get into marketing strategies and all of that. But one of the most important things is to actually have a platform so people can see them. And yeah, I think that's a topic on its own that we could go really deep into. But these are, Dach is also great. They also collaborate well, or actually Dach shows two designers from them at their showrooms. Really amazing work too. I think it's Yvonne Reichmuth and Luca Xavier are at Dach too. Not just a label, it's also a really nice platform for emerging design. And then I have some addresses in Zurich for pioneering sustainable practices, local brands, design graduates that also show their collections on Instagram or just before they actually get a platform. And shops featuring small-scale designers, conscious designers. Take this list as a helping hand, as an address book for better choices, better addresses, where you actually you will discover so many amazing people and talent.
Are you sending this to people who
I could
fill in the RSVP in your
yes
event?
yes, because it's that, and also my little research on fiber choice. Oh yeah, it's actually the two next slides. Yes, so that's cotton, their plus, their cons, their alternatives, linen, what it's good for, hemp, bamboo, alternative, and then the next slide, please. It's the polyesters that basically, if it's nylon, acrylic, or whatever it is, PVC, it's always polyester in the end of the day, and made of crude oil. And what's the alternative if recycled polyester is such a thing right now, but it actually doesn't really doesn't have much use. It's very complex, but it isn't a real alternative. It is great that we put it into action again, but polyester remains polyester. And alternatives to man-made cellulosic fibers like lyocell, and these are the actual innovations. The leather, it can be can be imitated by Piñatex. Viscose lyocell, as I said. Silk, a better way of doing so would be the ahimsa. It's still not 100% great, but it's a better alternative. And lino acronyl, something I just found out. So yes, I can give this 4 sort of go-tos and little information. I can send it to everyone who's interested. You're also very welcome to drop me an email or a message on Instagram or on here or wherever you desire, and I'm very happy to help.
And if you really want to, Mariana, to send you these
Informations, you go to the event page. There's an RSVP. This is still open, so you can still sign in, and then she has your mail, and that she's happy to send you this list.
Perfect.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think we're done for the day. Unless, are there any questions so far?
No.
Do you have any questions, Corina? What do you think?
I'm totally happy with your scales you opened up, and gave a wonderful insight. Thank you for this. I had one thing in mind when you were talking about the swaps, and there's not so many happening. It's very easy to organize one yourself, and there's also like small tutorials on the fashionrevolution.org page that might be worth a visit. There's a whole section in how to get involved, and they have little YouTube tutorials how to organize your own clothing swap, which is actually pretty easy. Just get a bunch of friends together, and everyone's sorting out what they probably won't wear a lot in the next season, and for the others, it's a treasure.
It
so
is,
people
exactly.
are having a ball, having a really good time swapping their clothes, and you wash them in advance, and then you can just swap them. So it's really, really a good alternative to shopping.
This is what I find about sourcing secondhand. Anything, if it's swapping, renting, it's that beauty of finding an item that is actually so it resonates with you. It's like finding love. Almost, it's like it's every time you find this, and this is why it's such a beautiful alternative. And also because making use of whatever is already existing. This is why secondhand is so important. It's also, again, not just a trend, but it is important that we use the resources that we have already created, because it's already here. We can't make them disappear. So we better use them and give them a home. And, you know, they're like orphan kids that we need to give them a home and make them happy.
Yeah, thank
All
you,
right,
Marianne.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone listening now live or later as a video. It doesn't matter really. Just yeah. Thanks for being here and giving me the platform to speak.
Yeah, thank you very much. We would be really happy if you tune in again. Next talk will be at 2:30. Yes. You can also, this is a discussion with the audience taking part. You can still sign in on the RSVP, and we send you the link to get into the discussion with us. It's about fashion tech and future fashion tech for sustainable impact. And we're having some really interesting guests that will give us an insight into their field. Yes, hope to see you back.